Good evening and welcome back to Golden Eagles Sports Report.
Tonight we discuss the women's basketball team's postseason run and the abrupt ending to the men's basketball season.
So get ready, Marquette Nation, because Golden Eagles Sports Report starts right now.
Slam dunk! Oh, that's a poster.
From the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagles Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down!
Hello everyone, I'm Tyler Peters.
And I'm Kristen Parisi. The women's basketball team lives to see another day.
The Golden Eagles face Purdue Boilermakers in the second round of the women's NIT tournament. As I found out, graduate student guard Charissa Mclaughlin face the pressure of playing against her old team.
With the season on the line, look to no other than those who have been there and done that. The Marquette women's basketball team welcomes in the Purdue Boilermakers for a second round matchup in the Women's National Invitational Tournament. Veteran leadership jumpstarts the Golden Eagles offense as Lauren Van Clunen puts up 15 points in the first quarter. But Purdue keeps things tight in the second frame as Marquette heads into halftime up only 5. Coming out of the break, the Boilermakers hit back-to-back shots, forcing the Golden Eagles to take a timeout. Marquette immediately responds, going on a 10-2 run, and outscored Purdue 21-14 in the final frame, clinching a 77-62 victory.
It's funny, at halftime we kind of came out doing the exact opposite of, we talked about the energy and Purdue's toughness and, those first couple minutes, come out aggressive and, flying around on defense, and we did the opposite. So I just wanted to call a quick one just to reiterate the message from halftime, and I was just really proud of the way they locked back in.
Van Clunen has a historic night, finishing the match with a career-high 27 points on 10 for 17 shooting.
I think my teammates did a great job finding me too, and just getting me the ball. So I know I'm really, really confident with that. And then, I knew even if I missed it, there was rebounders down there, so I was letting it fly.
Can we just talk about Lauren Van Clunen? I mean, wow, she carried us from when we tipped that ball. I mean, just rebounding, obviously her scoring is phenomenal in many different ways. Her jumper, her getting rebound putbacks. I mean, she's a phenomenal player to play with. I think she's the storyline for today.
Jordan King, Charissa Mclaughlin, and Antoinette Walker all notched double-digit scoring figures as well. The Golden Eagles will host the University of Toledo in the Sweet 16 of the WNIT Thursday night. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, I'm Tyler Peters, Marquette Wire Sports.
And we would now like to welcome in Executive Sports Editor John Lauzi for more on the women's big win yesterday. John, thanks for coming on.
It's great to be back. We just did this a couple hours ago, back 24, but
yeah,
let's do it again.
It was a fun call, and although Charissa said she was going up against her former team, the real storyline, as she said in the press conference, was Lauren Van Clunen. How big was she in yesterday's win?
Well, you heard it in the package there from Charissa Mclaughlin. Lauren Van Clunen was everything for the Golden Eagles last night against Purdue. 15 points in that first quarter, 21 alone in the entire first half. She was just 4 points away from reaching her career high at halftime. So you see Lauren Van Clunen, she's able to do everything. We've seen her grow as a Golden Eagle player, Kristen, but she is able to do it on the glass, getting those rebounds. That hook jumper, I do not want to go against. It is just too good, and I mean, it's a confidence thing for Marquette. When they get LVK going early, it allows players to get open and makes teams have to guard Lauren. But last night, Purdue did not guard her. They just let her open, and she was just pure hot.
Yeah, she's doesn't want to go home yet, and
Nope.
they have another chance on the home court. This is her last time ever
Yeah.
potentially playing at the Al McGuire Center. She wanted to make sure she went out
For
with a
sure.
bang. And another player who went out with a bang was, of course, Charissa Mclaughlin, who chipped in 16 points. So how did you see her handle the pressure going against her former team? Because there were obviously some nerves at the beginning of the game.
For sure, and you mentioned those nerves, and that was a big storyline going into our broadcast last night. See, how was Charissa going to handle against a team that probably knew a lot of her tendencies, because she played 4 years in West Lafayette before she came to Marquette in the offseason. The first quarter definitely saw those nerves. She wasn't able to get a shot down, but she attempted a few, but it really was that three-pointer at the end of that first half. I believe it was like 53 seconds or less. A big three-pointer before the Golden Eagles. She was able to hit from deep. That got the confidence going into halftime, and that entire second half, she just looked like Charissa Mclaughlin, and when she lets it go, it just swishes in.
Yeah, you know, as soon as she lets it go, it's going to go. And in that second half was such a big confidence boost for the Golden Eagles. And one of the biggest reasons as to why they were able to pull out the victory in the second half was Antoinette Walker.
Yes.
She was all over the place yesterday, forefronting the defense. So have you seen her come alive in these last few weeks when the Golden Eagles really needed it?
Absolutely, and you mentioned it right on the head right there. In the last 3 weeks of the Golden Eagles play, we've seen a different Antoinette Walker on the court. Perhaps it is because this could be her last game when she suits up, as she's not going to be returning. They had her senior day, but this is the best I've seen out of her in her 3 years with Marquette. We're seeing her comfortable. We're seeing her confident. She stuffed up the stat sheet last night, offensively and defensively, but you mentioned the spark she was able to bring defensively off the bench for Marquette, especially when they did not have a Danielle Middleton. She was out with a non-COVID related illness. So Mari, as they call her, she got the big minutes and had a couple big steals that led to some big extended runs and just stopped Purdue their season.
Exactly, and they're going to need Antoinette Walker on Thursday as they are back in action at home against Toledo. So what does Marquette need to do to extend their season?
Well, the easy thing would say get rebounding, get the offense started from your defense. We know that's going to happen, but I think we need to see the same confidence and the same player of Jordan King. 3 3-pointers in that game. She was phenomenal.
Yeah, it should be a good one on Thursday. Can't wait to see it, but thank you always, John, for your insight. Coming up, the men's basketball surprising season comes to an end. More on that next.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Welcome back to Golden Eagles Sports Report. Once again, I'm Tyler Peters.
And I'm Kristen Parisi.
It's been over 7 years since the men's basketball team won an NCAA tournament game.
And Marquette Nation is going to have to wait another year after the team's first round loss to North Carolina.
Head coach Shaka Smart spoke to players and the media following the season-ending defeat.
The biggest lesson from this is, you have to lead on the defensive end, and that's regardless of how things are going on offense, and we didn't do a good enough job of that today. Everyone outside of our locker room didn't really think we could do much at all this year. We were picked 9th in the Big East. We certainly weren't picked by anyone to go to the NCAA tournament. These guys and their teammates have done a phenomenal job building relationships with each other, and that's been the foundation of everything we've done. We're just getting started, with what we're trying to do at Marquette. We're going to use today as a major springboard moving forward.
I mean, Coach said we want to be one of the team that grows the most over the course of the year, and I feel like, for the most part we did that, and we're going to learn from this experience, and we're going to keep growing and move forward.
Just going to continue to lean on our core values, really, just relationships, get closer with each other, build relationships with the new guys that come in, and growth, just get better every single day, build connectedness on the court, just work on skill, all that. And then when the season comes around, then we'll be ready for a victory. So I think that's what this summer looks like for us.
We now want to welcome in sports audio producer Matt Yaisel. Matt, it's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be back, Tyler.
Heck yeah, all right. Well, what went wrong in that match against the Tar Heels? Obviously, that offense really never got it going throughout that entire game.
Well, yeah, they just weren't able to establish any sort of rhythm offensively, and I think that is simply because of the defense and the rebounding. Obviously, giving up 95 points on the whole game. But we knew going in that rebounding was the biggest concern. Rebounding has been one of the bigger concerns for this team throughout the season. North Carolina is a great rebounding team, and they showed that down in Texas. And when you're not making shots offensively and you're struggling to get stops, any time Marquette tried to build any sort of momentum, it was just shut down immediately because the defense just wasn't able to pick up those timely stops that they really needed.
And to me, North Carolina never really even looked like an 8th seed in that game. And then they went on to beat Baylor, obviously. Almost blew it, though. But do you think there's any chance Justin Lewis comes back next year? Obviously, right now, some projections have him late in the first round, but would it benefit him more to return next season for another year of collegiate play?
Well, another answer to the first question, why they lost, is that I couldn't find where Justin Lewis was in that game down in Texas.
Magnifying glass to find him out there.
0 points in the first half. 2 for 15 from the field, Tyler. You're just not going to win a game if your best player is playing like that. But obviously a great season overall for Justin Lewis prior to that. Personally, I think a lot of players with his kind of status try to take the route to the NBA as soon as possible. He's projected to be a draft pick, whether that be first or second round. But if I were him, the option of coming back to Marquette, another year under Shaka Smart with higher expectations, more eyes on him, and the ability to have another year to improve and potentially get up to a lock in the first round, maybe a lottery pick, I think that could be a good option. But personally, I would project him to take the route to the NBA right away.
Yeah, I think he's going to do that as well, but I do agree. I think it would benefit him a lot if he just played one more year at the collegiate level. But, all right, we usually call you the staple on this show, but now I'm going to ask you to be a professor. Professor Yaisel,
okay.
How would you grade head coach Shaka Smart's first season?
Well, I think obviously bad ending in terms of the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament, but I think to give it anything lower, if you want a letter grade, maybe a B+. I think
that's about where I would go, B+.
I think that would be silly not to. I mean, with the expectations coming into the season, 10 new players coming into the program, for Shaka Smart to come here and to get all these guys to come together as a team and to have the success they did this season with the big wins they had this season, really re-energizing this fan base and getting the national attention on this team that he did this season. I think he worked wonders this season for Marquette and has put them right back in a position to be a energetic and great basketball program moving forward.
Well, it certainly exceeded expectations for this year, but now looking ahead into the future, you see this program taking a step backwards or forwards for next season?
It's a tough question, honestly, because
a lot still has to a lot of moving parts still.
Absolutely, sure. And I think obviously the expectations are rising now with what we saw from them this season, but in terms of next year, they're losing some key pieces. At the end of the season, they turned into a team that scoring-wise was relying pretty solely on Lewis and Daryl Morcell. Neither of those guys, at least if Lewis doesn't come back, neither of those guys are going to be back next year. They got some high-quality recruits coming in, a couple three-star guys. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they might not reach the higher expectations that some people are going to put on them, and they might not, reach the upper echelon of the Big East just yet. But I think we can certainly expect a high-quality team going into next year, a team that'll fight to be in the top 25 in the rankings, and a team that I think will make the NCAA tournament again.
Well, we'll have to just wait and see what happens, but we appreciate the insights as always, Mr. Matt Yaisel. Coming up, the madness continues, but not just in the NCAA tournament. We'll discuss next.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Roll over. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
How accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
And we are back in Studio 7 as we will discuss all of the madness of March surrounding both the men's and the women's NCAA tournament. Joining us on the panel tonight is Tyler Peters, John Lauzi, and of course, the staple, Matt Yaisel. So let's get started. With rounds 1 and 2 in the books, there was a lot of madness, a lot of upsets, and now the Sweet 16 has been finalized for both sides. So what do you guys think is going to be, what is going to be the biggest storylines, and how have you seen the madness unfold?
Well, one of the biggest wins for me in the start of the men's tournament was actually Houston beating Illinois. I think Houston was a bit of an underseeded team at a 5 seed. A lot of people forgot that they made the Final Four last season and brought back essentially everybody from that team. And I think just if you watch that game against Illinois, a tenacious defensive team. Personally, I had them in my Final Four going into the start of the bracket. Maybe that's a hot take because they're going to have to face the number 1 seed Arizona, and so we'll see how that works out. I could get some points there in my bracket group, John. But I think I feel more confident about that pick now after seeing that game. I think they're a very upperclassman-led team. This is kind of a last hurrah for this group in Houston. So I think you guys got to watch out for the Houston Cougars.
I mean, for me, and it kind of goes with the outfit I'm wearing today, the
Uh-oh.
St. Peter's Peacocks wearing the light blue to represent the state of New Jersey out of Jersey City. As you know, Kristen, Jersey toughness, and this team showcased it not once, Matt, but twice. I almost went 3, thinking a little far ahead, so I had to bring myself back. But the way they played against Kentucky really stood out to me. This team is hard. They play with passion, and they're also a little gritty, which I kind of like when you come to Cinderella teams.
Well, I'm not going to talk about New Jersey, which is the armpit of the East, by the way.
Whoa!
I'm going to talk about the Providence Friars, and I owe Ed Cooley an apology. I'm sorry. I called you out on this show. I didn't think your team was really that good. But here you are in the Sweet 16. So
Wait. You said New Jersey's the armpit of the East Coast, but you're talking about Rhode Island?
Well, yeah, I said I'm not going to talk about New Jersey because they are the armpit of the East Coast. Who would want to talk about that?
But what's Rhode Island? There's nothing.
Rhode Island is Rhode Island. No one talks about that. But beside the point, I have the Providence Friars going to the Final Four now as my new prediction.
Oof.
Because my bracket didn't do too well.
They play Kansas next round, right?
Yeah. The Jayhawks are the Jayhawks. They'll probably choke. Who knows?
Chalk.
But just like Illinois, I picked Illinois to be my Final Four last year. That didn't turn out very well.
Yeah,
so
that
is tough.
Never want to pick Illinois.
But But in terms of the women's bracket, I actually have UConn going all the way. I think with Paige Beckers returning, how could you not pick them to take this thing all the way? Last night they almost came. They scared me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I almost had a heart attack.
They almost lost the ball, and the one biggest thing is that depth is going to be one of the biggest reasons, and that's why Iowa lost. Caitlin Clark Definitely one of the best players in the country, probably will win Player of the Year. But when she's scoring 27 points a game and you have someone else scoring maybe like 2 or 3, you're not going to win. So I really like the depth out of Stanford, and I really like the depth out of South Carolina, because you have Aaliyah Boston, you have Destiny Henderson, you have Bria Beal, you have all those players. And then for Stanford, you saw Lexi Hull get out to it, had a career high 36 points. So I think it's going to be a really great battle. I'm looking forward to Stanford and Maryland, but it's going to be a great last couple weeks for March Madness. But moving on, it may be the offseason for the NFL, but that hasn't stopped the stir around trades and other news. One of the biggest headlines was Desean Watson, who has been caught in the midst of civil lawsuits and has been recently traded to the Cleveland Browns. Would you want him playing for your team? Is he too much of a risk considering all of this? And I think I'm going to start off. It's kind of disheartening to see everything that's going on around the NFL surrounding players and all of these allegations. And yes, he has been cleared from court cases. He won't be charged criminally, but that doesn't stop that there's 22 women that came out and has the same kind of story. So everyone's saying that, oh, you never know, but obviously you don't want this kind of stuff to happen. But knowing that it's 22 women and this all happened during Women's History Month, it's kind of showing. You see people all around the league. Mina Kimes, who's an NFL insider, obviously has some comments, and it's just like seeing how you can be banned for a year for betting, you can be suspended for deflating balls, but when it comes to hitting women, assaulting women, it just seems that the NFL is kind of blowing over it. So right now, seeing the Cleveland Browns, as all this stuff is up in the air, I don't really know how to think about it, but I don't know what everyone else
Well, I
thinks.
think to me it's like this moral conundrum that happens here when it comes to sports, and when players like Desean Watson are involved and they're still getting these opportunities to play in the league. And the NFL isn't the only sport that's like this. Every other league, there's Trevor Bauer and others as well. It really is sad, and I think the biggest thing is, how much do you value winning? Is winning the end-all, be-all? Is winning a championship, is that the biggest goal? And does that mean we're going to let people like Desean Watson, who have all these allegations against him, play in the league and continue to do that and be the face of a franchise because he's the quarterback? Quarterback is the biggest position in all of sports, in my opinion. I think it's just an incredible slap to the face to women across the entire NFL fan base and other fans of other sports as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you, and thanks, Kristen, for speaking on it, because it really is important. And I think, yes, they did trade for it, but I think what is even more disheartening is the amount of money he was given in that contract extension. 5 years, $230 million. It just doesn't sit right, and I do hope that this does get revisited and something does change to it, because right now there's no answers.
And I think one of the bigger problems I had was with the Browns kind of coming out with some statement saying, we extensively looked in. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was
they didn't even talk to the person who was representing all the women.
No,
so it's like we did extensive research, but you're not looking at
and
the
you're
other
not
side
talking
of it.
about what that research was.
Yeah.
It's just the PR words of, hey, we looked into it and we decided it was fine. We decided to give him all of the money he could possibly want.
Did you guys read that Sports Illustrated article about detailing just like some of the situations that he's been involved in? I mean, if you read that article, it's, after reading it, I'm like, how could anyone root for this guy? Like, it's
and
incredible.
The thing was, the Browns, they had Kareem Hunt. They've done this before. Like, it's been the front of the Browns and obviously the AFC North with Ben Roethlisberger and everything, but also not just the players, but you saw Dan Snyder and everything with the Washington Commanders, what he's done, what other of the Blackhawks, the ex-GM of the Blackhawks, everything. So it's just kind of like this continuous thing that they're just throwing it out there, and it's just like, oh, it happens, but we want to win. So it's just like, what is it going to take? Is it going to take someone to bet on your team to throw them out of the league, or is it going to take these allegations that are serious?
There's a lot of questions up in the air, and it's really just sad that we're at this point. We have to talk about it right now because Desean Watson, in my opinion, shouldn't be playing. And look, I'll never be a GM. I'll never be an owner of any NFL franchise or a Major League Baseball franchise or whatnot. But I'd like to say that if I were in that position, I would never let a guy like Desean Watson play for my team, let alone, like you said, giving him all that money. That is just, I really just lost for words.
Also, like, these things continue to happen, and I do hope Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred can make a step and continue to revisit the Trevor Bauer thing. I do hope that can happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I was really rooting for Desean Watson, so we'll see what all happens. But thank you all for the great discussion. But we're not done yet. Keep it right here, because after the break, Tyler will be giving us a final take on Shaka Smart's first season as the head coach of the men's basketball team. Right here.
You ever seen somebody treated unfairly because of the color of their skin?
Do you guys know what it means to have white privilege?
What is racism, and what do you think about it?
Talk to young children about what racism is, giving them the language to understand it. They can be disruptors. They can shape and shift culture.
We may not always know the answer, but we'll try and help you learn.
You don't have to have all the answers, but that doesn't mean we can't start.
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
What are you looking for?
On March 26, 2021, a new era began for the Marquette men's basketball program. On that day, athletic director Bill Scholl named Shaka Smart the 18th head coach in program history. Initial reactions to the hiring varied. Some liked it, some were indifferent, and others were in doubt. The biggest challenge for Smart was earning the trust of a fan base that was coming off a fresh divorce with former head coach Steve Wojciechowski. Now, coming into the first season, Smart's team was picked to finish 9th in the Big East preseason coaches poll, and many thought the team would struggle to even compete for a spot in the National Invitational Tournament. It didn't take long for Smart to surprise us all and, dare I say, shock of the world, as some might say. But Marquette went on to beat a nationally ranked program just 3 games into the season against Illinois. And then they steamrolled the eventual Big East regular season champion Providence Friars, and then went into the Finneran Pavilion doing the unthinkable and upsetting Villanova on their home court, a place where the Wildcats had won their last 29 games. Marquette then went on to defeat Villanova at Pfizer Forum, marking the program's first regular season sweep over the Wildcats in a decade. Smart was putting together one of the most impressive seasons Marquette had seen in years, but the Cinderella story slowly began to feel like a nightmare. The Golden Eagles went on to lose 7 of their last 11 games, including 0 Big East tournament wins and a blowout loss in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Remember when I said there were fans who doubted the hiring of Smart? Well, those same fans will point out to you that he is 0-7 in his last 7 NCAA tournament games. Was his run at VCU an anomaly? It very well could be. Dare I say he's the second coming of Wojo? It's certainly too early to tell, but if his team performance in the final 11 games of the season is any indication of what lies ahead, Shaka Smart will be in big trouble. In the meantime, he's got a lot of work to do, and the clock is ticking. Marquette Nation's patience is already thin enough, and another season without an NCAA tournament victory could spur a new toxic relationship between the program and its fans. But for now, the outlook remains positive. Shaka Smart exceeded everyone's expectations, and his first season was a success, even if it ended on a sour note. However, next year will be different. The bar will be raised, and there will be people who will expect Marquette to get its first NCAA tournament win since 2013. But is Shaka Smart the one that will finally deliver? Only time will tell.
Precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it.
Dare to load their minds. Dare to explore. Dare to STEM. Learn more at She Can STEM.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.